You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcasts, the one that you look forward to all week long. What are they going to talk about? What movie news do they have for us? Let's get their opinion. Those three white dudes from Louisville, Kentucky. That's right, we're here to talk about all the pop culture we can cram into about an hour and a half every week on all your favorite social media. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And he never says his name.
Is that true?
You never did.
Not true.
Never say never.
Name. I said my name.
Last week you were, who were you last week?
I said my name, not last week, the week before.
No, but I forget what it was. It was a famous
have no
person.
idea. Was it a famous
Yes.
person?
Dirk
They're dead
Diggler.
now.
Dirk Diggler.
I'm gonna call you by my name.
Call me by your name.
Yeah, call me by your name.
Can't do that anymore. He's he's blacklisted.
Michael Fassbender?
Army Hammer. He's over there cannibalizing
I
people.
love his name, dude. for real.
Army Hammer? I always
What?
makes you think
No.
of Arm and Hammer.
No. Apparently, I don't know if this is real or fake.
Oh, this is
I
gonna be
read.
great.
I went down a deep dive on this.
Oh crap!
Apparently, he is related to that family, which is why his name is that.
Really?
And that's where most of his
I hope
legacy
that's
money
true.
comes from.
I hope that's true.
Is from the Arm and Hammer family.
Arm and
and apparently,
Hammer.
like the
Army
Arm and
Hammer.
Hammer family is so tainted with bad blood that they're like a whole family of cannibals. I swear.
You're full of crap.
I went through a deep dive on this, and it could be some.
I believed you
With,
until the whole family of cannibals thing.
Would you talk with Chat GPT about it? Or
Yeah,
something?
they told me all about it.
Yeah.
You can trust them completely.
No, Truth GPT.
It's coming. Elon told us. Part 2's tonight. Actually, nobody's watching us. They're probably watching Elon and Tucker.
No,
Elon!
they're not watching Tucker Carlson.
No, why would they tune into
No,
that?
they're watching Elon.
We'll watch all the clips tomorrow on Twitter.
I did. Well, here's the thing. I looked for the whole. I had to find some like bootleg copy of the whole interview because they broke it up. In,
I have Fox access to Fox News, so I just watch it on that.
See, that
on
was the
app.
thing.
You can
I
watch
went-
the shows on the app.
I went to like his web or his YouTube page and Fox News' YouTube page, and they had all the clips. But I didn't. I wanted to watch it in order
Yeah, you can watch the whole show
Yeah,
on
You just go to their...
on Fox News app.
without even having a subscription.
You have to have a cable. Don't you have Spectrum?
I don't have cable,
Nope.
no.
You don't have
I'm a
Spectrum.
cord cutter.
Yeah, I don't
Tried
have, I don't
and
have
true.
cable either.
If you sign
yeah.
in with your Spectrum account, then
You got access.
Yeah, you can watch it.
Yeah, I don't have access to that.
Yep. Nope cable. It's bad.
But you know what? Everybody has access to who's got an internet connection, which everybody has internet these days.
The
They got access to
interwebs?
this show.
Me.
Yeah. So if you
The
don't
best,
have
the best hour and a
cable,
half of your week.
you can
right
watch us
If you get
instead.
on OnlyFans and search Vanilla Steam, you'll have access to me.
Here. Woo!
Ooh, is that true?
Naked.
I hope that's
It's
true.
the only channel.
Vanilla Steam.
Vanilla
only channel
Steam.
I get on 4chan and I search for, and I see all the pics.
It's
You need to get on there and copyright strike them. I'm telling you, they're still in your content.
Well.
They got your leaks on 4chan.
I mean,
Get on there, man.
right now I'm okay
You're losing money.
with them sharing just so I get
Publicity.
Actually, did
yeah,
y'all
yeah,
hear
no
about
bad
my
what,
name
press.
out there.
what Reddit is trying to do?
No, what
which
is
it's
Reddit
kinda, It's
trying
kind
to
of
do?
interesting. They're taking, which we kind of have like an AI theme, which we've had it for
Actually,
the last
yeah,
couple weeks.
it will kind of fit. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's they're trying to now say that they want money to be paid to them directly by all the big tech companies that are sourcing AI because they're scraping together all this content across the
from
web
Reddit.
from all these sources, but
Yeah.
Reddit's definitely one of them because that's where you have human to human interaction.
Yeah.
And
Everybody
all
goes
these,
to Reddit
so
to
basically,
discuss
they're
everything,
they're
yeah.
wanting to be this domino that pushes the effect of saying, hey. Everybody, let's start ganging up on the big tech bros and
let's get
saying,
paid.
"Where's our money? You're
Yeah.
using our content, you're pilfering it, you're going through it and putting it in all these data points
I
and
say
these
kudos to
AI
Reddit.
models."
Not that I'm really
Well,
for Reddit. I just
I
if they
don't know
could
if I
hand it.
agree with that or not.
I don't care. Let them take it.
I'm like,
to
when
the
you sign
beer
up for any of
company.
those things, you sign all of your content away. You sign every conversation, every picture you post. You're signing it away
But you sign it away to who?
to Reddit so that they can
That-
sell it to other people.
And that's my point. Is Reddit saying we want a piece of that pie?
Oh,
and now
okay.
while
Reddit
I'm
wants the
not,
money,
yeah, they're not wanting to give it to the
They want
creators.
Google and
course
all
not.
of them to give them money because Google and all these other tech companies are pilfering things from Reddit. So
It's the
they're
same as like YouTube.
that is good coffee.
It
Is
is.
it?
I've gone through almost
good.
half a cup.
Wow, there's more in
pretty
there.
good.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm telling you, Technoforum just makes anything that's crap taste good.
Yep.
That's good.
It could be Maxwell House,
I don't
and it
believe
would
that.
taste like
I don't believe that.
Maxwell House.
Maxwell House.
Just Kroger brand coffee's better than Maxwell House.
That's true.
It is.
No,
That's
I will
true.
say that organic,
Okay,
you know,
they're okay. I mean, it's not.
bean coffee
know.
I got from Aldi was
Private
pretty decent.
Selection is
Aldi.
good from Kroger.
Actually, no. That was that the last batch from Aldi.
Yeah.
that was it. Yeah, that was better than Maxwell House. So
Yeah.
I mean, for a cheap, it was like $5.
yeah,
That stuff
That's
right
cheap.
there was $20 for
That's
a
ridiculous.
16-ounce bag.
That is.
ridiculous.
That's insane. And I told you,
It's good
he
though.
likes it. Was that the cigar or the coffee?
That was the coffee.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. Cigars don't make me burp.
They make me burp.
You haven't
they
burped
make
yet.
me poop.
I didn't smoke a cigar.
He didn't.
Oh, you smoked your pipe.
Yep.
That's
They don't
right.
make me burp, but I just either way, I didn't smoke a cigar. Yeah,
But we do have a great show.
we do.
I
We
hope
got
so.
A review.
we got a film.
We got our film to review.
We got news.
I think this is the
AI
first
related
week
news.
in a while that the review has not lived up to our expectations, but our expectations weren't really that high to begin with. No. So that tells you a little bit of what you're about to
We've
hear.
had a string of like well-rated movies.
Yeah,
though, lately.
absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
we have. So
I think we've been spoiled for the last like 4 weeks.
Yep.
We've had some really good ones recently.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Yep. The streak is over.
That's it.
I think.
That's over with.
And I was looking forward to this one, but I probably
I didn't
won't.
hate it, but
We'll
we'll
check it out
we'll get
again.
into
We'll
it.
get into
Yeah.
it because we got that. We've got some great headlines. We got an AI segment in our multimedia. We're going to talk about how
I
it
know.
changes.
It's just
How's it going to change film?
it's everywhere.
It's all over the place. It's gonna.
Artificial intelligence.
Are we living in the Matrix?
The Blue Fairy.
Blue Fairy.
What was it?
AI.
AI.
That movie
Great
used to
movie.
creep me out as
It's-
a kid.
oh, dude, I cried.
Oh, man.
Wait, the Blue
it tore me
Fairy?
out. Yeah, AI, artificial
AI.
intelligence.
Oh,
with Haley
yeah,
Joel
yeah,
Osment.
yeah. Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg.
I'm a real boy.
That is a good movie. It's an underrated movie, and it kind of deserves to be underrated. But I
I'm
like
telling
it.
you, okay, right before Spielberg fell off the, I mean, he at least had like AI, Minority Report, which were trending into this weird, trendy territory.
They were weird, yeah.
Of staying relevant in a futuristic way. And I mean, like, I still like Lincoln, but after Minority Report, I really don't know what else he did. Maybe Catch Me If You Can was post Minority Report.
Was it?
I think it was.
I think
it was like
that might be his last
2004.
really
Really?
great.
That is a
I
good
mean, I do
movie.
like Lincoln.
Yeah.
I like Lincoln, but I wouldn't consider it one of his greats.
No,
So.
Yeah.
I enjoy
Yeah.
like going back and revisiting it, but it's like
Then he did
definitely
Bridge
not
of
War
Spri-
Horse.
Spies,
yeah,
yeah.
Bridge of Spies, BFG,
Milquetoast,
ugh,
Yeah.
BFG.
it was terrible.
That was bad.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's dive into our review for this week, which happens to
Spielberg.
be not. It didn't end up beating out what we didn't go see, The Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oddly enough,
Russell
this-
Crowe is the Pope's exorcist.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I think he drew the
And
numbers.
just, Russell Crowe. Apparently, people like Russell Crowe.
But
I don't know.
Mario was still number one at the box office.
Yeah,
It
it-
didn't trounce that.
It's
Rightfully so.
breaking $1 billion.
I love it. Oh, it's so good.
It's around 700 right now, but yeah, they know that it's going to break $1 billion,
Which is
so.
fantastic. But this is the movie that was actually lesser than, in terms of box office numbers, The Pope's Exorcist, and it is Renfield. So here is our review.
I'm so glad you brought it. The newest films on the blocks this week both dabble in the macabre. One a straight-out horror film starring Russell Crowe, the other a horror comedy about Dracula's familiar, Renfield, starring Nicolas Cage as Dracula. In both cases, the casting is the scariest part of the film. We chose to review Renfield because while horrifying, at least Nicolas Cage is also hilarious. Crowe just makes us scared and sad. So very, very sad. Directed by Chris McKay, who helmed the very popular Lego Batman movie and the less than popular Tomorrow War, comes Renfield, a dark comedy based on an original story from Robert Kirkman, creator of the Walking Dead comics. Starring Nicholas Hoult as the titular character, servant of Dracula, Renfield, takes place in the modern day, with the story we know of Dracula providing the character's backstory, through clever use of footage from Universal Pictures' original 1931 Dracula. Renfield is now a member of a support group for people stuck in codependent relationships. Renfield himself longs to be free of his servitude to Dracula. Co-starring Awkwafina as Rebecca, a traffic cop with a vendetta against a local crime family, Renfield and Rebecca soon become unlikely allies as their paths cross. While a unique idea and story connecting the characters we know to the original story and bringing them into modern day, with a focus on Renfield as a character repentant of the evils he's helped commit and looking to free and redeem himself, Renfield could have been a smart and creative film that focused on unique aspects of familiar characters and tropes. Throw in a comedic and action-packed flair, and the movie could have been a wholly original take on Universal's monster properties. Something Universal has been seeking since their failed attempt at a monsters cinematic universe that crashed and burned with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, which so happened to feature Russell Crowe. Sad, sad Russell Crowe. Anyways, Renfield unfortunately does not live up to the potential of its premise. While the action and gore is over the top, they do nothing creative with many of the violent deaths and fight scenes. Coming not far after John Wick 4 and other well-made action films this year, Renfield just feels cheap, and CGI blood splattering just for the sake of it grows old fast without any creative or well-choreographed set pieces. The comedy is often generic and uninspired. In fact, I would say that of the writing as a whole. Barely touching on character development or emotional growth, the characters are all provided with generic motivations, with the film never expounding on these motivations. Even the performances are fairly straightforward. Nicolas Cage does chew the scenery as he often does so well, but he alone doesn't save the film. Comedic moments outside of Nicolas Cage exist, but the genuine laughs are too few and far between. Renfield, in summation, is just a milquetoast film, which after Tomorrow War might be a trend forming from Chris McKay. It's not that Renfield doesn't have potential or even some terrific moments, but there's not enough of anything in the film done well enough to make me want to sit through it again. I applaud Universal for trying creative spins on their monster properties, but hopefully they find more creative minds to partner with for any future movies. Renfield is humorous and will be enough to pass the time with for many, but I'd say skip it. I give Renfield 2 out of 4 stars.
2 out of 4 stars.
Yeah!
I concur.
Well,
It was not a
it was like that.
was a
Unintelligent.
Yeah,
very-
it's like you came out of the movie.
very
kinda like that.
milquetoast movie, and I just felt after seeing Chris McKay, that's the guy that did Tomorrow War as well. I'm just like, I guess that's what he does. He just makes milquetoast movies because Tomorrow War was
Yeah.
Same.
I give that one credit because of Chris
Pratt. Well, that's what I'm saying. Just like Chris Pratt was the only
And J.K.
good.
Simmons was awesome in
Just
that
say,
movie too.
Chris Pratt was the best part of that movie,
Yeah,
and
Nicolas
Nicolas Cage
Cage.
was the best part of
Yeah.
this movie.
Well, it's like he
but they're
uses
not
them
enough.
as a crutch.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I will say about
That's true.
halfway through this film, I was thinking 2.5. I wasn't really on. I was in the beginning. I could see 3.
Oh yeah.
Very quickly, the script just never got better. The writing never really went above just cliche.
Yep.
So I was just like, all right, I'm settling on 2.
Yeah. I think I was at
finally settled on
2.5
2.
right until Nicolas Cage really comes into the fold and like he goes to the meeting or whatever,
Yeah.
and everything from then on out, it just kind of I felt like they drug things out. They didn't really have any depth too much.
That's the weird
So
thing
I
too.
was just-
How do you drag things out
Without
and not get
having
any
character
deeper?
depth?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, because they had to have this whole plot line of okay, well now he's got to come to the AA meeting. Well, not AA.
I mean, it was
The AI meeting.
Codependent meeting of all these people who are
Yeah.
codependent. And then it's like, okay, but then we also have to have this crime family plot, and then we also have to have this police station plot, and then we have to have Awkwafina having family issues, but we're not really going to give you any depth about her father or her sister so
No.
that you can relate to her family issues. Then we'll mention Renfield's family and the fact that he had a wife and a child. But then we're never going to go into that either so that
so
you have
wasted.
any
Yeah.
emotional... Like, I felt like they bring up enough to create emotional connection, but they never actually give you anything to connect with the characters.
Well, and like you had even mentioned too about them doing like the cool aesthetic with the original film and
I
bringing
love
in
that. At that point, I was like, oh, this could be a really
exactly
well done.
and the pace was set very early on for being quick, and I thought, okay, they're going for the quick witty, one-liners or just a very quick
horror comedy,
splash.
you don't need more than 90
Right.
minutes. I mean, Zombieland was perfect.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's 88 minutes.
Yeah.
It's shorter than 90 minutes. And I just think it's funny that they it's fine to see them dip their toe back into this, but we've seen so many of these kinds of films that do it better. Zombieland being one of them.
Yeah.
And that was, over 15 years ago?
Well, Sean even
20
mentioned,
years ago, probably at this point.
Warm Bodies,
Yeah.
which is more of a horror-themed rom-com.
Yeah,
even
like
that,
a zombie
like,
rom-com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
that
Warm
movie.
Bodies was
That was
fantastic.
way better than this. So
Teresa Palmer.
it's like you can blend the macabre with other genres and do it creatively.
Yep.
But then it's like once that has a success, much like this week we've talked about going to see Evil Dead Rise. Like that's another one that's nothing but constant blood. But again, it fits with kind of the theme of the movie, and there's usually a kind of a choreography and style. Like it's not just like I felt like everything in this movie I'd seen before.
I would not have been opposed to the bloodbath that was in this film throughout, except for the fact that it just nothing seemed, other than maybe the bar scene or the restaurant. I don't even know what it was. There were a few cool cinematic shots. There was one when they're in the apartment complex and he jumps up from one balcony to the other. There were like a few different staple shots that I was like, okay, that was creative. But most of it was just lackluster and things we've seen before. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to have that kind of tone, you've really got to mix it up enough to make it interesting for it to seem like it's a fresh movie.
But you know, I was just thinking about this. I think part of also why like Zombieland and Evil Dead, why those movies, even though one's a comedy and one's not an outright comedy, but while like the over-the-top gore kind of works for those, as opposed to something like this, is in Zombieland they're zombies, in Evil Dead they are like undead, basically zombies, and it's like you're having us like these people like slice up and go to town on these undead figures, or in something like Kill Bill where these are absolutely evil people.
Right.
It's like it's
Crazy.
over the top. It's
Yeah.
over the top and gory, but you also know these people kind of deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like this was still a crime family, but there were innocent people
there's
as
a lot of
well, much
innocent
like
people
cocaine
too, yeah.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't just like with Cocaine Bear. It's like, are we supposed to laugh at watching like innocent people get dismembered? Like I don't know why that should be funny.
Yeah, why has this
Yeah.
become such a trope? Like, why is it like two movies released, very close to one another, where they just kind of ignore that essence of reality with like human nature? They totally just kind of.
Well, this film kind of tries to cop out on the end, like where like the good people that were harmed, like I don't want to really spoil anything, but like they use the Dracula's blood, and I'm just like, that's kind of lame too, because then it's just like, oh, nothing that happened mattered because we just
Magically, yeah.
Now you're all better, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Sean, what about you?
No, I was right at 2 stars. I'm in the same boat though. I did enjoy the movie. The opening, I thought maybe the first like 25 to 30 minutes were really good, but then I'm just being honest with you. I thought Awkwafina was terrible, and I can't stand her voice. I couldn't stand her attitude through the film.
Yeah.
But then another part was kind of the opposite of her was the police department she worked for.
Yes.
And I really couldn't stand this idea that every single person, every single freaking cop was corrupt.
Except
and I'm
for
like,
her.
she can't be the only one out of all of these people that's...
Well, and then it begs the question, too, of, like, how in the world does she make any kind of headway whatsoever?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like, it becomes comical to the extent that it's just
because
completely unrealistic.
just because Dracula might not be in the picture, and just because the crime family might be kind of out of the picture, that doesn't change the fact that the entire police force in this entire city is corrupt.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, she would either... it just didn't make any sense to have all of them in that boat, and including someone close to her. So that just kind of pissed me off that they went that route, because it's like, yeah, of course all cops are evil and bad,
right,
unless you're a minority cop, and then you're okay. But
well, then even
but the police chief was,
he was the most corrupt of them all.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
but,
how often do police departments have like FBI headquarters in the same building too?
Yeah,
there was some really.
It was really weird that her sister who works for the FBI had an office right down the hall.
Well, and even going to some of those plot points, and I get, like we said, it was a short 90-minute film, but there were just some that were just so contrived, like the part where, and this is it's not spoilery, but her and. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting Nicholas Holt's. Well, he's Renfield, duh.
Renfield.
So her and Renfield meet up at this cafe, and she's waiting on this evidence. And it's like they're in the middle of a conversation where you think you're going to get a deeper moment between the two, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I've been meaning to call my sister to see where she's at, because she's like supposed to get this evidence."
She's supposed to meet them at that cafe too.
And it's just like, of course, now all of a sudden that goes awry, and of course that leads into our final main climax, and it just seemed a little bit too cookie
Forced,
cutter
yeah.
and too forced, along with the
It's like, oh no, sister got kidnapped.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. It's like trying to force emotional moments that never really landed because
saying,
they
we don't
never
know
built
any.
them.
Well, even the villainous characters, including Dracula in the film, don't ever really feel that threatening to me. Like, I mean, because of the comedic side of the movie, Nicolas Cage being funny in the movie takes away the fear or the just the scare factor of him being Dracula.
Yeah.
I never really felt like he was going to hurt Renfield. I never really felt like we were ever even going to see him do anything really heinous. And the son of the crime family, who does the voice of Sonic, what's his?
Ben
Schwartz.
Yeah,
Schwartz.
I never took him seriously. And when you start to see Renfield kind of pull away and wanting to be normal, it's very predictable that he's going to gravitate towards Dracula and want to be his familiar from now on, or his servant or whatever. And that was just, I just never really felt like there was anything original. I never felt like there was anything that wasn't very predictable throughout the film.
That's the
and
key
that's
word,
what it's just like.
predictable.
Yeah, if it's predictable, then there's nothing
interesting
right.
about it. I mean, that's what it honestly felt like, a movie that I might have been a little bit more generous with if it had been released 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It would have fit better along with those style of films and had the same look and feel that would have been unique. But since there's been so many others that have come before it, it kind of just falls short.
Special effects were terrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about the movie 300. How many years has it been since that movie came out? Now, given that's a Snyder film, I like it, but the blood in that movie is pretty. When you watch that now, like, it looks bad. The CGI blood and gore in that movie.
Part of it,
but it still looks. Yeah, it's the graphic novel-esque thing that he was going for. It looked better than this movie, though. And I'm talking about you've got that much update to the process of special effects and the techniques and everything, and this looked like freaking Jello splattering around everywhere.
That goes
it was just
back to
stupid looking.
What kind of Keith said about you almost have to. You have to go so overboard, almost like Kill Bill in the Crazy 88s, where it's so comical.
Gory,
yeah, but at least that was practical blood spray and that kind of. I mean, it's over the top.
It's over the top. It's watered down. But
I think they intentionally made it look fake CGI in this just because they were being so gory. But it still looked bad.
It looked really bad.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even with it being, I think, an intentional cartoony look, I think they could have done something more creative.
Reminded me of when you're watching Halloween, the 2017, and he goes and he stomps on the head and smashes it.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, that's a little just too much. It's too far. And there were scenes in this where it's not that the graphicness bothered me, and much like Cocaine Bear, there were some parts that were just like, okay, this is so far over when a body hits the ground and explodes and it's just like buckets of blood.
Right, yeah.
You're kind of like, okay.
There's not even any parts to the body. It just turns into blood.
Yeah, it was
beating somebody to death with their own arms and stabbing other people with their arms.
Or like even the head flying off of the body and hitting the car, and it's just like most of that was just so overdone.
Yeah.
And again, understanding that was their aesthetic, that's what they were going for. It just kind of took me out of it as being too fake, based on every other part of the world they were building. So overall, I think you said it best at the end of the review. Probably not one you need to check out. You could skip it. It's not terrible, but it's just not anything memorable.
It adds to Nick Cage's somewhat of a comeback. I know in his last movie he says, I never went anywhere. Like, it's not a comeback because I never went anywhere.
That's right.
Like, I love that because the movie exactly was that. It was his comeback into like mainstream film.
See, I would say whatchamacallit was.
What?
What was the one last year? That was him as himself.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay,
that was his comeback film. But I mean, now here he is in another another mainstream movie, and it's kind of like, he's showing that in his age, he's still Nick Cage. He's still got talent. He's still an over-the-top actor because he went full Dracula in this movie when he's not trying to be funny. He was entertaining. And I honestly thought the makeup and the choice of stuff that they did with him, the teeth and everything being all sharp and different than the stereotypical vampire. I thought that looked awesome on him, and I thought he did a good job. It was just he wasn't enough to carry this film like at all.
No,
and
I agree.
that was surprising. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought I'd go into it and the rest of the movie would kind of be, but I'd be like, bravo, Nicolas Cage, or how he does. He's like, bravo, bravo. Like I thought it was going to be good, but no, I probably won't ever watch it again.
Same. I don't think I'll revisit this one either. Alrighty, guys, that's our review for this week. I think next week
It's like,
always
bra
has them.
effing oh.
Hey, you need that one. You need that one on there.
Now that was from Face Off when he does the
bravo.
bra effing oh is what he's.
Yeah, you need a Nicolas Cage quote on here.
I do.
Yeah.
It would probably be from
I could eat a
Wicker
peach
Man.
for hours.
The bees! The bees!
I don't know what I would do with that one, but that's okay.
That's why I would put it on there. The bees! I'd want you to just figure out where to put it.
I will. I
just
will.
randomly figure it
I
out.
will
Yeah.
get the bees.
I kind of
in there.
wish we would have went and seen Russell Crowe.
I'm not going to
Because
lie.
he is the Pope's exorcist.
When I found out here's the thing. I don't think it would be anything better than something generic.
No, yeah,
But
but I'm intrigued.
When I found out it beat this at the box office, and not only that, but it also
Let's see what.
I watched the trailer because I had to
rating it has.
I had to put the clips of the movie from the trailer in this review, and I was watching it and I was like, and the trailer looks very generic.
Yeah, it does, but
I will say I think I might have been thoroughly entertained if it built a better story.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I want to see that Nefarious as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think Nefarious is actually it looked decent.
I've been hearing things about that, so
who knows? But I know the next movie I think we're gonna go see is
definitely Evil Dead.
Okay.
Evil Dead Rise. Yeah.
Would you like to know the Rotten Tomatoes score
Yeah,
on the
why
Pope's
not?
Exorcist? There's a divide between critics and audiences. So it's,
what's the audience
probably
score?
The audience score is 83.
Okay.
So, which horror.
Honestly, I'm probably gonna err on liking it more than
Audiences, I think, are a little bit more forgiving with horror, but they aren't always because they weren't with Halloween. So, but the critic score's 46. So I'm like, if nothing else, it's not. It's
what it tells
a
me
clean
is
movie.
like you said.
It might be generic, like you said.
That's it.
But that's probably the worst of it. Yeah.
Yep. Audiences are gonna like it because it's got Russell Crowe and it's decent horror.
Yeah.
But it's not anything groundbreaking.
So the critics are going to bash it.
Yep. It's nothing new. Which I wonder what's the I don't even know. I didn't check out Renfield's.
Oh, Renfield, I think it's awful on both.
Oh really?
I could be wrong.
I
though.
am worried about Evil Dead Rise not fitting with the other Evil Dead
Deads?
films. I don't think it's going to have the
I think it's gonna be
the
more
funny.
mature.
Yeah, I don't think
know.
it's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Actually, Renfield has similar. It's 80 with audiences and 58 with critics. I mean, I can kind of see that because our biggest problem with it is it just being milquetoast, and I think for just a generic,
Well, audiences
horror
liked
comedy,
Cocaine Bear,
yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
awful.
Tasteful
I thought
or
that was
tasteless.
tasteless.
So, audiences like tasteless things sometimes.
Yep.
Well, that's how the original actually
Stupid.
But that's how the original Evil Dead movies got popular because the original Evil Dead wasn't really a straight out comedy like the more comedic like they became. It was just this tasteless B pulp horror movie that fans loved, and then Sam
And Bruce
Raimi turned
Campbell.
it into.
But it's so different
Yeah.
now. I don't
It
know.
is
It's
the
like
thing.
the tasteless. Again, we were talking about like it
Because
being
it is campy and pulp like
Right.
horror. Like they used to, if you were going to be tasteless like that, you made it. Campy
Well, they used to get
so
that right.
But
I
they
feel like
also-
they try to do that.
Tales from the
but they
Crypt?
don't
Yes.
get it
Oh,
right.
Tales from
Yeah.
the Crypt.
Well, there was
Yeah.
wit there.
Yes.
Anymore, it's just degeneracy, and like that's what
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear I feel like
Yeah.
was.
It's like, you're right. It's like there's this campy like over the top gore, but there's also like you said wit. Like there was like that's what I loved about Tales from the Crypt was just how smart a lot of the episodes were.
Alrighty, guys, let's move on to our headlines
Yeah.
segment. Big boy on the block this week. We're gonna talk
Cheatham.
about it.
Jude Law.
Oh.
Yep, Jude Law is back.
Oh,
Is he back?
He's starring in a movie with James Vanderbeek.
I'm sorry.
Varsity Blues 2, Dreams Come True. Breaking it right here on the Red Moon Podcast.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
And no, Jude
Okay.
Law was not in the first Varsity Blues, but he is the new coach.
He was the water boy.
Well, exactly.
You didn't know it was Jude Law.
You didn't
at
know
the
it was
time.
him. He's taken
I knew
over
it was
coaching
Jude Law.
duties, and he is he's bringing James Vanderbeek, who is he got hurt in the NFL, so he's coming back to his hometown. And Jude Law is
Is
taking
Tweeter
over.
going to be in it?
Oh yeah,
Tweeter's in it?
that's it.
Yep.
And John Voight, he's
Nice,
he's
nice.
got
back.
a reckoning.
Nice.
He's wanting they got to face off with them in the national championship.
He's like he's the town drunk now.
Yep.
But then he's gonna like come back.
Yep.
And
It's a resurrection story on both ends.
wow.
Both from James Vanderbeek coming back to reclaim his glory from the failed NFL dream and John Voight coming back from being kicked out from his
Brandon he made a whole movie.
team.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
John
telling
Voight's the way back.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's got it's a rock star cast.
Well,
stellar performances
yeah.
across
You don't
the
have to
board.
have a rock star cast. I mean,
I was
people
actually-
don't go to the movies for stars anymore.
I was
right?
getting ready to say, I don't even think AI could write a script like that.
No.
We just did.
Chat
Yeah.
GPT ain't got
in,
nothing
in 30 seconds,
can't.
on the
we
Red
just
Moon
wrote
podcast.
a movie.
No doubt.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Honestly, that's my goal. My goal is to screw with AI so bad with our podcast
that it doesn't know what to think.
They don't know what to think.
Yeah,
break
it
it.
blows
I
itself up.
doubt that it's grabbing anything from the show to use for anything useful.
It probably is like cannot compute.
Yeah.
Data point overload.
Well,
No, every time it Googles Red Moon, it finds porta pots. So it
Yeah.
just
It's our other business.
I
Yeah.
attempted to segue us, but we went into
No,
AI.
we're not gonna
There's
let you.
no way.
So-
No.
There's no way.
I
How do you
tried.
segue from Varsity Blues to
I did.
Dreams Come
No, I
True?
did. I said you said you had an all-star cast. I said, well, you don't really have to have stars anymore. People don't
Oh,
know.
yeah,
wow.
he did, but
I
we
did,
didn't let him
but
go
then,
there.
Then we.
No, we ruined it.
Are we in a post-star movie
so,
era?
So you know.
Movie star, post-star movie
I-
era.
Post-star?
Movie star.
Poster.
era.
I don't think we're as post-star as what some of. I know Joe Russo and who was the other guy or gal John Sloss. I don't think that it's so bad that like Tom Cruise is the only like drawing power anymore. But I do agree with Joe Russo that people don't necessarily go to the movies anymore specifically to see a star.
I do.
I think Chris Pratt. Yeah.
The one
Exactly.
star that matters.
But that's the thing. I think there are some specific stars people will go to a movie for, and I
Yeah.
do think Chris Pratt is still one of them, like Tom Cruise, which Sloss said. But I do think people they want to be entertained and they want a good story, which is what something Russo brought up with Netflix, that you see people who are now so into streaming is because they're just interested in seeing things that they don't get from mainstream Hollywood, because all mainstream Hollywood is worried about right now is blockbusters and mega movie
Well,
stars.
here's something I'll add to that, because I don't completely disagree. I think that I just don't think that there are any classic movie stars anymore.
Oh, not like there used to
No,
be.
not like there used to be. And I mean, there's no Charlton Heston anymore. Like, there's nobody that compare. And I would even argue and say that Tom Hanks, to me, isn't Tom Hanks anymore. There's too many movies that he's done where he's been off.
I would say that about all of them.
Yeah, and I don't feel like they hold the same weight as Tom Hanks used to. But I lost my train of thought.
Well, real
We'll come
quick,
back.
I did want to bring
stars.
up the fact that he does specifically say it was easier 15 years ago. This is from Sloss, whose credits include Boyhood, Boys Don't Cry, and Green Book, said even though there is more money than ever for content because of the pandemic and the interruption of all rights distribution, most of that money comes from the streamers, and they aren't looking to discover new voices. They love it when they have a foolproof chance of that, but that's not their business. And he's not criticizing them for it. He's like, we know they have to have a sure thing, but oftentimes he thinks they have done a better job, and I like the way he puts it in terms of diversity. He doesn't mean like in terms of faces on screen, but he means content from other areas.
That's what
specifically
Russo's-
like Squid
yeah,
Games.
he came back at Sloss with that. Yeah, I have that actually pulled up. You want me to read
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
Because Russo did say, he said, I believe streamers have done more for diversity in 5 years than the theatrical business has done in 100, because they intend to be global, and so they are using regional voices to attract viewers in those markets. For example, Squid Game, that show wouldn't work 10 years ago. It only works on Netflix, where 200 million people watch it, and it helps, in my opinion, to break down the barrier of subtitles. So streamers are compelling in that regard. And see, I do agree with that. Is
Right.
that when you have access to a larger like library of content, you're not just, confined to what Hollywood's trying to shove down your throat anymore. You do discover things, and people are more willing to look outside
But
the
don't
box.
you think that that's part and parcel of the problem? Because as much as we rail against Hollywood now, within the current last decade, and the schlock that they've poured out, most of that is because of certain agendas they've pushed through that we've complained a lot about here on the show. But it was almost like before they didn't have that luxury, because they generally had to create general mass appeal. And most of the mass appeal that they created weren't just like that they didn't have indie hits or favorites. I mean, Forrest Gump won Best Picture in '94.
Yeah.
It wasn't because that was some kind of groundbreaking film that had never... It's like, that's truly a remarkable film.
Yes.
That is just... transcends beyond the time it was made. It's just a good movie, a great movie.
A lot of when you look at like, I think the Best Picture winners from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, I feel like there's a lot of those.
Well, but I think it's interesting to see that what changed. What was the dynamic when you had streamers come into play? And side note, real quick, I just saw another article today. I mentioned that Netflix is finally canceling their DVDs, mailing DVDs out for
I
subscribers.
think Redbox has had the
mail
they've had
subscription.
that. Yeah, they've had that for a while now. I don't think Netflix needs to fool with that no more.
True. But
plus, they probably need to
ever
cut
since
the
their
cost.
inception. That's how they got started.
They got to save some
Probably
money
true.
somehow.
It's like they probably. It's not
I do
worth
remember
spending
what
money
I
on.
was gonna say earlier.
Go ahead,
I was gonna
go
say that even though I don't feel like stars are made anymore, I feel like people still do have a hunger for getting behind a specific star, and I think Brendan Fraser reminded me of that, because here's a guy that walked away from it for a while, came back with The Whale, which we would disagree on how great that movie was or whatever, but I think people really wanted, just like Nick Cage, they wanted the comeback story
of
their favorite actor coming back. I think they still want
Short Round.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
great
everything
example.
everywhere.
Yeah, people still want a movie star to look
agree.
up to,
I
but
think-
there just aren't any to look up to.
I was gonna say, I think the reason there aren't stars anymore, but what I think you're getting at here is just because they're not role models anymore.
Right, that's what I'm
it's like
saying.
You can't relate to Tom Hanks like in the '90s. He seemed like an everyday guy, and people were like, "Oh, it's
not
like
anymore.
I can relate to him, and he's this amazing actor." But now that they keep getting up on their soapboxes,
Okay, but here's the thing. But he specifically brings up Tom Cruise in the article.
Yeah.
And no doubt he's still a mega movie star. But also, I think it's not just that they're an everyday person, and that was the appeal.
they don't have to be an everyday person. That was just specifically Tom Hanks. Yeah,
I know. But I was thinking,
Let him finish.
yeah,
dang it!
damn it! I'm
just kidding.
I'm not interrupting. I was just
I just get
rebuttaling,
lost in my
defending.
train of
I
thought
was
when there's
defending.
interrupting.
Sorry.
So, like Tom Cruise being in the roles that he is, he still remains mostly private. Yes, he's come out on, we've had the Oprah couch moment
Scientology
and the
stuff,
Scientology and him debating, which funny enough, I think it looks really good on him now when he was debating, I forget, it was on, I think it was NBC Mornings. The guy, they ousted him because he was
Debating the vaccine stuff?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah. But it's interesting. I'm forgetting the anchor's name that.
Yeah.
He
He doesn't work there anymore.
No, he got ousted.
fired.
Yeah. For other reasons.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to pick someone like Tom Cruise, and even I would say like someone like Brad Pitt, who are going to pull in major money and eyeballs overseas because they're known, but mostly because of some of their past roles, and they've been able to continue those throughout the decades. I mean, we just talked about it a little bit with Russell Crowe. Probably is the reason The Pope's Exorcist topped out over Renfield, even though that had Nick Cage in it. But it's like, I think Russell Crowe still has a prominent name behind him, although we would jokingly, like we did in the review, talk about how he's had a sad decline in his quality.
The average moviegoer.
But it's interesting that I think most people nowadays, they don't view celebrities as not only a role model, but also everything is so quick and you're moving so fast from one thing to the next. What they really point out at the end of the article, and what seems to be the momentum behind any kind of popularity with whatever is, the cultural moment, whether it movie or TV, is typically I've got to be there first, or I've got to be in with the crowd. Everybody else is enjoying Squid Games. I keep hearing about it. I better jump on the bandwagon too. It becomes a cultural phenomenon simply because the masses have now got social media to talk about it, and that drums up more conversation around the content than, say, a given star who's out there and everybody knows who they are. And I almost think, I think it's kind of twofold or two-faced. I think you have celebrities from back in the day who were more private. You didn't know much about them. There is this allure of celebrity that, they're a normal person like me.
That's before social media.
But
though.
exactly. And before everybody had to be a PR, a PR machine, even on camera. whether you expected to or not. I mean, you have to now have that persona and that personality. And you can't just be a movie star. You've got to be in TV. You've got to be doing voice acting gigs or showing up on an ad somewhere. It's like you're trying. I mean, that's why we have, I think, across the board, that's why you see such crossover, whether, The Rock was the first in mainstream from the WWE, but why you see John Cena or why you see LeBron James going from basketball to movie. It's like you can't just be a singular star in one specific medium. It's got to go across the board for you to be a mega star. Yeah. So I just don't think we have movie stars, but we still have celebrity status because these people have to be involved in every aspect of life. And personally now they are trying to come out on the forefront of social issues, and where it can get them in trouble, it can also cause them a huge stir that gets attention.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people that get a larger draw are the ones that also, I mean, I agree, there are definitely the mega stars that stay in the limelight because they do cross multiple fields, but I do think a lot of the ones like we talk about Chris Pratt, Henry Cavill, we love Peter Jackson, the ones that actually stay out of the limelight, except
Nolan.
Except for their work, I do think you see a lot of people gravitate towards them too, specifically because it's refreshing. Like, okay, take Tom Cruise. Yeah, I mean, every now and then you hear something crazy about him throwing a fit at people over like the whole not wearing masks thing, but in general, you don't ever hear anything about Tom Cruise that's not related to either his job or Scientology.
When have you ever heard Tom Cruise get on Twitter? I don't even think he's on Twitter.
Yeah.
But when have you ever seen him get on Twitter and do a political rant?
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't.
Yeah.
No.
And it's like, that's why he still seems like one of those untouchable stars. It's like, I remember...
Because he's entertaining.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, before social media, I remember back in the day, like my mom used to collect autographs, and she would write letters to these celebrities, and send them, and they would probably go through 10 different agents and managers before they would get, okay, yeah, we're going to get a picture signed and mail it back to you. And she had all kinds of them. She still does. She got freaking George Lucas to sign a picture.
Awesome.
And we still have it. It's amazing. It's probably worth a lot of money now. But I'm just saying, nowadays, though, the stars aren't so far away. They're not so untouchable. You can get on Facebook and you can write a response to somebody's post, and I mean, it's not a great chance, but there's a chance that they'll write back on Facebook and say,
or Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, so they're not. I don't feel like they're they're not as high up as they used to be.
Along with that sense of privacy, I think came with a sense of social decorum. It was like they knew that there was a like, you almost get brownie points and extra credit now. I mean, think of Lizzo. It's like part of her whole, image is, I'm big and beautiful. I'm going to put all myself out there, and you're going to take me as I am.
Every inch of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you can't fit it in frame. But it's like, it's true.
Yeah.
But it's like you're now rewarded for being someone who is outlandish and constantly chasing after, take me as I am, and now I'm going to amass these people who support me. And it's like you have these other celebrity class that I think are playing catch up, or even don't, want to go there. I mean, because that's the thing. The difference in that era, the era we live in now, and what we're bringing up with Tom Cruise, is that I, who may not agree with anything on him on the political spectrum or even religiously, and so same with Lizzo, we can both probably go and enjoy Top Gun Maverick, because all he did, he literally he made an amazing film, and ultimately, even with Mission Impossible coming up, he put it on social media, and like all it was a video of him jumping out of a helicopter and skydiving and thanking all of his fans for going to see Maverick.
He's focusing on entertaining and pleasing the people that he knows keep him paid is the audience. And going back to like what Sean was saying with like the mailing, I mean, heck, now they have campaigns where you just go online, pay $20, and they just give you a video shout out, or they send you a thing in the mail.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's so easy now to get in contact. I mean, and you're still not directly contacting the celebrity.
Sure.
But I mean, when you pay for that $20, they get the little thing. They're like, oh, their name is this. Okay, I'll make a video. Hey, Sean Sebastian.
Yeah,
or,
that's
hey, Keith
real
Cheatham.
personal.
Yeah,
no, it's not. I'm
it's
being
like,
sarcastic.
I paid $20 for it. Yeah, and
it's
like,
something special when they send you something in the mail with their handwriting on it. And I mean, maybe it wasn't George Lucas that signed it. Maybe it was somebody that has his signature down.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably got people paid to do
but
that.
Still,
he can't sign thousands.
It did
but
felt
still,
special.
It felt special. Now it's just that I feel like that stardom has kind of diluted because of social media, and because they're just so out about everything.
And it almost seems like too now, I think you because of streaming and because of content overload, everything is bifurcated into kind of little pockets of entertainment where now I think you have huge, small fandoms around certain properties where now it's cool and fun to rally behind, like, oh, I'm going to follow this group of people because they're saying similar things that I agree with, and they now have risen above.
Echo chamber.
Yeah.
You're in an echo. Well, but I even think about it like in terms of like huge fans of David Hayter. As the voice of Solid Snake. And yet I've seen him go on tons of different fan favorite podcasts of his.
He talks to
He
people
goes
on Reddit and Twitter. Yeah,
absolutely. He'll reach out to them. I mean, I can't stand the guy. He's a douche. But freaking, I mean, this is what Mark Hamill excels at on Twitter, and why people followed him for years when he was thought to be out of the public eye. So you find little pockets of where you don't have necessarily a movie star that can carry a movie, but you have a fan base that created a cult culture.
I was gonna say that's actually I think how like nerd culture has become so mainstream. Because I remember even watching like we talked about Joss Whedon and Buffy and Angel and Firefly back when those came out, and back when Reddit was getting huge. The actors of Scrubs even did it, where they would have Reddit AMAs, and like the actual actors like Nathan Fillion would get on Twitter or Reddit, and you could talk to you could ask him a question and he would respond. And a lot of the people that worked with Joss Whedon and like a lot of those popular like nerd shows, those type of actors were gracious and willing because they hadn't had stardom before. And I think you do see that niche trend now where Mark Hamill jumped into that because of his popularity with voice acting. I think a lot of voice actors, you see that with David Hayter and several famous voice actors have a huge following just because they can hop on, online and, chat on Reddit or Twitter.
Well, and that's how you grow your business. I mean, it's so much more about self-promotion now with some of these smaller stars that are trying to get the bigger deals. They're ultimately concerned with what, if I have a fan base that's rallying behind me, and anymore, what business is not going to look at someone's social media accounts and say, they've got 400,000 followers.
People love him, yeah.
They've got a huge fan base. They've cultivated it. Hey, let's bring them over to our property because now they can drum up all this kind of press and positivity for what we're trying to sell. Yeah. And I think you've seen that now across the board, especially with the streaming content model of just trying to be more excessive with regard to content. Whereas, it isn't really about putting butts in seats at theaters anymore. It is, what's the next cultural zeitgeist we can get started so that people tune in and they drum up the social media, and now all of a sudden everybody's got to flock to Netflix to see this next big show.
So maybe it's not so much that the era of big movie stars has ended or died as much as that stardom has just really changed. It's
maybe
not
it's
the same.
maybe it's our interest in stardom that's faded away.
Or everybody has the ability to ascertain it.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's not everybody's chasing, and I think that's a problem in and of itself. I'm not saying it's healthy, but everybody has the opportunity with the 1 degree of connection that you have with the internet and social media to technically reach that stardom in and of itself.
Back in the day, you used to daydream about the stars you thought were good looking and hot
and untouchable.
Today, you could just go on OnlyFans and pay to see Bella Thorne's boobies. So
no, you can't.
No,
I know she doesn't actually get naked.
It was a trap.
But still, it's just funny.
That's why I look for Vanilla Steam.
Yeah, but it is funny just how different. Because, and again, I mean, that goes back to society and the culture and all that as well. Just how different, stardom has become. And
what else is different?
Now there's freaking kids on YouTube opening toys that are more famous than movie stars.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to bring up in a probably non-popular way. I don't want to get too political with it. But Mr. Beast recently now causing controversy because of his sidekick Chris, who's trans now and come out as trans and is divorcing his wife and breaking up his family. But basically,
I have no idea who Mr. Beast
I hadn't
is.
heard it.
You don't know who Mr. Beast is?
I have to say, I don't.
Probably the most popular YouTuber. He's got like 40-something million subscribers.
On YouTube?
Or like 90-something million.
What does he do?
He does like all of the huge giveaways. Like he literally made a whole successful channel out of being, like I'm going to give away this random person like $10,000 and they have to spend it within 5 minutes in the store, and anything they put in the cart I'm going to buy for them, or I'm going to go give this random person a brand new car. Like it just turned it into like this kind of pay it forward type, I'm going to just give all this wealth away.
Never heard of it.
And he built up a huge business model.
Did he do a thing with not it's going to sound like
he has
Tom's,
like Mr. Beast
but
burgers.
wasn't he giving away some shoes or paying for shoes at one point, and people were
sure. I mean,
like they were like, oh, they're going to get him for this too. too. How dare he give away shoes? So
I mean, it's one thing where it's like, even though we haven't, obviously we clearly show our age when we're not up on the cultural.
I'm out on that one. Yeah.
But it's interesting because of this whole controversy recently. People are even saying like Mr. Beast was one of those not only hugely followed and popular channels and still is, but he remained relatively apolitical. He wasn't trying to get into any kind of I'm for this person or this person or this cause. It was very generic.
He was just trying to do good,
right?
According to
and
him.
a lot of people followed him for that, and a lot of parents would allow their kids to watch. And then, of course, this news broke, and now all of a sudden it's like you got to make a stance. And of course, he's coming out in support of Chris.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's causing controversy. And it's like at some point you do have to, I think you reach a certain level of popularity or celebrity status. You're going to be faced with tough decisions and cultural, moral ramifications. And that's where I think the heart of somebody is really shown and their moral credibility is shown.
Yeah.
And if you don't answer that call, it's not only a detriment to, I think, your moral credibility or your moral worth. I think it's a detriment to anybody who follows you or looks up to you, and which again, that's the pressure you're up against. But I also would say it, to me, shows where you stand at in terms of the legacy of time. And I think that's kind of the difference of when you talk about movie stars from the past era, when you're talking about a Clint Eastwood, or look, film in terms of history is so short-lived. It's only been around 100 years.
Yeah.
So when you talk about film, huge movie stars that you do remember, Clark Gable,
Jimmy
Stewart, Clint Eastwood, like I just said, it's like you have these certain people, Charlton Heston, that rise above their generations. And they rise above the time in which they lived. It's timeless.
Yeah.
But I think we're finally, in such a short period of time, reaching this precipice of no longer having these relevant stars. They may have a blip. You may have your Chris Pratt, who's relevant for, as long as he lives. But is he really going to last beyond the generation that he's popular in now? Right. Because the culture changes so quick and so rapidly nowadays. If you're not focused on one thing, I mean, that's why you see a Brendan Fraser story and you seek to applaud it because you want the comeback. Mm-hmm. But it's like, are we really going to be cheering for the next Brendan Fraser movie? Or is it kind of like he already had his comeback. That was the big, beautiful moment. And now it's
he got his Oscar.
He got his Oscar. Oh, yeah.
Bye, Brendan.
Still cheering for you, but yeah, I mean, everybody's looking for the feel-good moment, and I think that's the problem, is we're such a dopamine rush society now.
Dr. Feel-Good.
Exactly. And it's like once the rush is over, you're looking for the next fix. You're looking for that next thing that's going to give you the jolt. I think ultimately that's why you could call it we're in the post-movie star era. I think the stars that are alive today are the well-known ones, are just not really, unless you really follow film, you may recognize their face, but you won't really remember them.
Wow.
That was a downer.
We going to another headline, or
another downer? The WGA is going to strike, possibly.
Maybe.
Coming soon.
They approved a strike. That doesn't mean they're going on one.
May 1st is the deadline.
Oh, yeah.
They want some more money, and
they haven't really given, other than, we know they want more money, but they haven't stated, how much or what percent. They haven't given a lot of details.
No. They're still in the negotiation phase.
I did like the AI one, though.
That was the one that it piqued my interest. Yeah. Because they're wanting to kind of combat and come up with, how do we decipher what is coming around the corner with AI? Mm-hmm. If we know it can write scripts and it can do it well enough that it gives it, how do you know a writer is genuine with what they're presenting?
Yeah, they said that was one of their stipulations, that they would not, if they're presented with an AI generated script to doctor up, or to go off of, they won't. They said that's.
But how do you know?
That in contract.
That's what I was. That was my question.
Though.
How do you
it's
know?
How would they know? They're putting in their contract. They want assurances that they won't use AI generated scripts. But how would anybody know if a producer was just oh no, so and so wrote this?
Well, you can create a person. Not a human person. I'm saying you can create a name.
Can create a person.
You
God
can create
gave you that ability.
I'm
just saying you could make up a person and it could be an AI, but you could give them a real name. You could give them a social security number probably. You can make a fake person and you would never know that this person wasn't real. You would never know that it was an AI.
Well, that's so weird. I almost sent you all this article on IGN. I saw that Sony was holding a photography contest.
Oh, I
and
saw
they were
that.
all submitted, and the one that won, the guy rejected the prize because he said, I just wanted to put this in there to show you all how easy it was. He was like, this is an AI-generated image.
Yeah.
It's not even real photography. And it was a beautiful portrait of, like, these two women, and it was like an older woman, like a mother figure, standing behind another woman, putting her arms on her daughter's shoulders is what it looked like
And
to
I
me.
mean, if he had,
But it looked legit. It looked like if you started looking at it closely, I think there were a couple instances where you could say, oh, that does look fake. But it was if you're just glancing at it,
Right.
you're legitimately going off the idea of,
I mean, it was
this
good enough
real?
to win first place.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, kudos for him for being honest and trying to prove something that could be a problem in the future. But yeah, if he,
Well, that was
if he wasn't an
potentially
honest,
why he said it.
well, yeah, exactly. That's
Right.
why he did it. But I mean, someone who's not honest, like he just proved, could walk away. I mean, with
Prizes
See, that's
and
one-
recognition.
fake women
That's
or
one
women's
that
sports and
surprises
fake
me
photos are
because
winning prizes.
Somebody
So-
that's entered photo contests and stuff before, and I'm pretty sure my brother-in-law could attest to this too. Like, when you do that, if it's digital photography, like, you have to supply the metadata, you have to supply the date, the time, and the metadata tells you what camera lens you were using, what time it was, I mean, what focal length it was. Like,
But
all
here's
of
the
that is
thing.
embedded. It can't create that because
You just said it could create a person out of thin air with a social.
No. I'm saying we could in order to say that this AI that's writing scripts is a real person. But I'm just saying that would say the AI would have had to have faked the metadata, and I don't know how it could have done that. I mean, it would have to fake the file name for that the camera was
I'd say
imprinting on the file. Like,
metadata is just a
I know
file
it's data, it's
attached, yeah.
information, but
Yeah.
that's if it did that, then that's even more
It's
disturbing.
capable.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Which is insane because, I mean, that is what we're up against with AI. And I mean, I think this is the bigger question with the Writers
Do you want
Guild.
to get into? I mean,
Well,
because
in
we
a
kind
sec.
of are.
Yeah, I was going to say
already.
in a sec because I wanted to bring up the Jonathan Majors thing
Oh, yeah,
a little bit. But I think the writers' strike, I mean, this kind of happens, I think, with all the unions in Hollywood.
It happens
where,
every so often. I mean, we did have a writer's strike when we were
back in
2006, 5.
I think it was 6. It was season 4 of Lost.
That's true. Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it was
yeah.
a short
Like, the only
season
thing
and
that pissed
man,
me off was that it
Yeah.
delayed Lost.
Yeah, it's screwed with Lost.
and
and
it
then it made
showed
you more lost because they showed reruns, and you're
Yeah.
like, "This isn't a new episode," and it was
Yeah.
like, and none
It
of them
was
played in
07,
order.
07.
Yeah. Okay.
So junior year of high school.
yeah.
Dating myself, but no, I don't know. It's like I think that being one of their bigger parameters, I'm not sure the checks and balances because here's the funny thing about all this AI talk, and everybody I think is rightly cautious. At least I think the trustworthy people are rightly cautious. The ones who are pulling the strings behind the curtain are nefarious.
Oh, yeah.
I think just by virtue of working on something again behind closed doors. As Elon talked about with Tucker, how OpenAI was supposed to be nonprofit.
Yeah.
Everyone could see the source code, and the fact that they went for profit behind closed doors is a little scary.
Yeah.
And so I think, and we've seen the biases it has natively built in. It is built to lie based on certain parameters. That already in of itself is a scary story moving forward. But when you have, rightfully so, people coming and cautiously saying, hey, we need to prepare for this. We need to put some checks and balances in place.
Yeah.
But everybody's so ignorant to the aptitude that AI has at this point and its ability.
They don't really know how.
They
yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what checks and balances to put in place. Because you could put parameters and put bylaws in there that restrict it, but how do you legitimately check? Again, if it's able to create metadata or able to articulate and officially create something that seems legitimate to a somebody who can, I mean, if there's no generator you can run it through, it's not like a Scantron test where you could throw it through a Scantron and it's like, oh, you got these answers wrong.
Yeah.
It can't, unless there was like some digital blueprint, it said, oh, no, this is definitely AI.
I mean, the serial number of your camera is in the metadata. It would have had to have made up a fake serial number. Like,
And
I mean, that's just crazy to me.
I bet it could find one online. I bet it could find a serial number online that it could attach to it. And think, because you also got to think, as long as they run the pictures through, I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of contest it is.
Sure,
and how rigorous they are.
Well, you enter one into the state fair, they don't look at the metadata.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But I mean, a big photo contest like that through Sony or through National Geographic or something like that, they're gonna want that information to prove that it wasn't edited in any way. I mean, the metadata changes if you edit a single pixel, so that they would know that. They would know.
And honestly, I think what this is going to do in hindsight, and who knows, maybe the Writers Guild could come up with this, because I know most people use Final Draft in terms of their script writing, program. If they come up with a certified program that's like it's gonna put a blueprint or a watermark or some kind of digital signature on the script, so that we can tell that is encrypted, that can't be imitated by an AI bot. You're almost going to have to see technology come up with ways to do that, so that it can't be manipulated easily by AI. And again, we can dive deeper into that, within our multimedia segment.
Yeah.
But
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, let's talk about Jonathan Majors real quick. Obviously, him and his, causing more of a stir with the allegations that if obviously he's denied, and we still don't have any kind of, we're waiting on the court proceedings to continue, but his managers have cut ties.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, his manager and his talent agent.
His agents.
And, And then there was something else that, the Met Gal, which I don't care about. They booted him. He lost his invite to that. So they're just like, they're like, eh.
He can't show up with his Eat the Rich suit.
Well, it's because it's one of those things where, again, with the court of public opinion, because the defendant, his girlfriend has already like made a statement withdrawing, saying no, he didn't do anything. But now I've even seen people online that are like, well, that's exactly how a victim would behave. She's afraid he's gonna come back and beat her again, she's trying to defend him. That's just, and I'm like, and to a degree, yes, that is also true. Many are, but again, nobody knows but them two.
Yeah, well, this is the fallout of anything in the public eye. And I mean, look, ramifications are going to be had when you're in the public sphere like this. And the fact is regardless of whether or not, again, yes, in the court of justice, it's technically innocent until proven guilty. Supposed to be. But in the court of public opinion, I mean, look, we saw how Johnny Depp was treated before the Amber Heard evidence came out, and for a whole year he was booted from projects, and rightfully so. After he was vindicated with the justice he did receive, or that Amber Heard received, it's like, but the damage is done.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Jonathan Majors is kind of like, if there is, if it does come out that this was completely innocent and he didn't have, any harmful backlash towards this woman who apparently did hit him first. She admitted that much. It was like, even through this quarrel, if nothing really abusive happened, the damage is done. And I think he knows, if anything, she knows that. And it's like, I don't see how they can continue, because it's like, you're costing him a lot of career right now. I mean, he is the up-and-comer. And
he still has Marvel so far.
Yeah.
And I think,
how much longer?
Well, I think they're going to be more hesitant just because they already got bit in the ass once with James Gunn. So, and Disney booted Johnny Depp, and nobody has forgiven them for that either. So I think after booting Gunn and then hiring back, booting Depp, and then trying to hire him back, only he had enough integrity to say no.
Yeah.
I think they're like, okay, let's not keep booting people and hiring them back. Let's wait to see what happens. Hopefully. Now, I could be wrong. We could find out tomorrow that they...
common sense.
I mean, yeah, it would be. But I could be wrong. Tomorrow we could read an announcement that Disney's
James Gunn and Johnny
him,
Depp are both white dudes, too. I mean, let's be honest.
True.
It doesn't look good if they're going to oust a black guy and then he is innocent. It's going to make it look worse. And plus, he's Kang. I mean, let's be honest. It's like they play the race wars, and I hate that but it's like they're the racial political aggravators. The mainstream media and these big corporations are. So it's like they play into that, and this is definitely the optics that they're seeing. They're going to be a little bit more hesitant. Now, as far as his managers and his agents, it's like nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
That's a private, deal anyway. I'm sure somebody else is going to pick him up. And yeah, he's probably laying low anyway until all the court proceedings go forward and everything comes out and everything is fine.
Good point, actually. His agent, his managers, they don't really have to worry about the court of public opinion because nobody knows. But they do have to worry about what Hollywood thinks of them. And if everybody in Hollywood's like, oh, you're representing a woman beater, we don't want to work with you.
That's right.
So they're going to be like, well, let's drop him because,
it's just bad blood for us all around right now.
I mean, even if it comes out that none of this really happened, and then if you're a movie star, you're not going to want to go to the agent that turned his back on you like that.
No, heck no.
He probably wouldn't, but I guarantee there's plenty of people that have that far left-leaning idea that it's like that are never going to trust him even if he comes out innocent.
Well, I'm
saying I wouldn't trust the agent because I'd say that guy really doesn't. He didn't have Jonathan Majors' back.
But
He's not going to have mine either.
You have a rational mind.
Well, that's true.
Well, but also, I was going to say, a lot of things kind of go out the window when you have a contract.
Hollywood actors that are just like.
But also, I think it's interesting that Jonathan Majors then would have the ability to go somewhere else, and the first person that picks him up, because all of them could be tepid right now and be like, nah, we're not going to touch this until everything's settled. And once it's settled, first person that picks up the phone is like, we want you. And then it's going to be like, oh, now you do because I'm innocent. But at the same time, they see it as like a PR boost of we stand behind him.
Yeah.
We've reached out to him. We want to build his team back. Look, it's all the PR game. It's how it all looks in the optics of what they want to sell you. And that's Hollywood. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. We'll continue to follow it all the way through
one
the
day
trial.
we'll be innocent until proven guilty.
Well, we're still waiting on Alec Baldwin to be put behind bars.
He's guilty.
Nancy Pelosi, she says you're guilty until proven innocent.
That's right. That's what she said about Trump.
Yeah.
He'll have all the time in the world to prove his innocence. Oh, thanks, Nancy.
Yeah.
I think you got that wrong there.
She needs to move to China.
She's probably already got tons of money from him.
Well, that's true.
On all the insider trading she has anyway. Alrighty, guys, let's move on now to our multimedia segment.
Multimedia.
Multimedia.
Multimedia. Let's talk about it. That was the AI talking.
That's what people said the first time they had a conversation
if I
with
had
AI.
the bees on there, I could.
The bees, bees, the AI.
I want Shredder on there. Babies, they're babies.
I'm telling you,
It's
if
too
you
long.
all,
It's just too long.
That's not too long.
you
That
all
one's
not only have to send me what you want, but if you find the link on YouTube to a good
You only need
cut,
the one word. You only just need them going babies, and that's it.
that's it. Just send it to me, and I'll cut it. I'll put it on the soundboard.
I love that. There's just some movies that like the campy lines is just part of what made
They
them.
stick with you.
They do. They're what make it a cult classic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about AI and how it's going to change movies. We've already talked about AI and changing writing.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it can do fake pictures. Wait till it can do fake motion pictures.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We already have deep fake. We now have AI that can generate lifelike photos, images, scripts. I mean, just plug it into the computer and let it just generate an entire, like, completely CG crafted film that looks photorealistic.
Yeah, isn't
That's how they did Lion
the
King.
young, like the de-aging process, isn't that AI generated?
Basically, yeah.
I mean,
To an extent.
I would
I
think
mean-
anything in terms of especially, I mean, even on your phone, it's like when you take a picture and the way it does gradients between, like, it does the HDR imaging effects, whether it's high dynamic range down to the lowest, resolution. I mean, it's processing all of this, and it does machine learning in terms of what it takes in. So it's like everything is tapped by AI these days.
Yeah.
There are AI generated things that are working behind the scenes. I mean, I think that's honestly the only way in a positive light you're going to see how huge data sets. I mean, you've seen huge supercomputers be made, but now I think it's going to take servers and servers upon the internet with this AI intelligence that's going to gather all this data that's going to cause, or that come up with a cure for cancer.
You got large enough, like computers with like enough hard drives and everything connected. I think absolutely you could completely create a CGI generated AI film. I mean, I was joking, but honestly, I'm kind of convinced that's how Lion King was made, is generic as it was.
Well, actually, oddly,
Shot for shot.
this is kind of weird too. That my brother actually just told me it's kind of this weird eclectic guy that he used to work with.
Yeah.
But he did these weird, like, artistic experiments. Well, this recent one was actually pretty cool. It was very bizarre, but it was pretty cool what happened. He went to some kind of event that had like a grunge aesthetic or like rock. He was making a rock video, but he wanted to add this kind of horror aspect to it. So he literally exported the frame of all of this video, of every frame in the video. It was like a 3-minute video. So whatever that is times, 1 times or 24 frames in every second. And he put each image into an AI generator like ChatGPT, and he put these parameters of what he wanted them to alter the image like. And then he stitched all of the frames back together to create the full motion video.
Oh man!
And it is the most bizarre looking, it's so hard to describe and explain in terms of the aesthetic, because it's not something that you would get from like
a human,
a human, or I'm gonna sit down and create. It's so abstract and bizarre in the way that you see it completely composed.
Man, now I want to see it.
Yeah.
It was disturbing.
That's okay. That's what I'm drawn to.
Right, and that's the weird thing. And I mean, as he was describing it, he said he was going for like a weird, unsettling feel, and I'm like, he accomplished it. But it made me think. I was like, well, gosh, I mean, if he's already manipulating it in this way, on this level, no doubt it could in some way become an art form to manipulate AI to make a video and create
or
a
help
motion
you in
picture.
areas, it's like, think if we had the AI back when you made 26 years, you could run all your frames through and maybe have a little bit better special effects.
Or better, or color graded in a certain way.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you don't have the money or the crew to be able to go at as nice as a production value as you want, but if you run it through an AI, maybe you could get something that looks like a better production value.
But is that cheating? Is it really up? I mean, here's the thing, because at that point, just like with the manipulated images, I mean, think about it. All the AI is doing is taking millions upon probably even billions of data points of what it is it thinks it's tied the words you've typed in to a specific image or a description of what it is you're looking for, and it's created an amalgamation of what it thinks that you want based on what you're describing. I'm not saying that that's not intelligent to already understand that.
Yeah.
But all of its data points are still based on all of what we have as humanity that has been collected since the digital age started.
Yeah.
From things even in history, going way back. All of these data points that have been morphed and combined into what the internet is, and it just scours it and finds. So it's odd that it's like you're asking it to replicate based on a description you've typed in, but it's replicating what it already has.
Well, it's learned from humans already.
Right.
And I don't so much think of it as cheating as just a scary situation where it's like, do we end up replacing... Like, do we put all of ourselves out? Like, I know that's like the doomsday scenario. Do we put all of ourselves out of jobs because now AI can take over everything? And to an extent, it's like, if it gets to a point where you can't tell the difference, I wouldn't know. But at the same time, I kind of feel like when it's not made by a person, it doesn't have that human connection. Granted, Hollywood doesn't have that human connection or soul anymore in their films either. But it's one of those things
and
where,
rightfully so, we call them out on it, and they don't.
We do. So would that be the same thing with AI, or would AI be good enough that you can get a movie that you're like, oh wow, this is really emotional. This does feel like it has. Because I mean, when you look at Top Gun, where a lot of things are so practical, like I loved that movie, and Avatar looked amazing, but I still kind of preferred a lot of the practical effects and shots from the planes, and because you can tell that there's human ingenuity in play there, where you have to have the rigging to set up the camera and someone who crafts the shots.
Well, and even based on that kind of description there, do you see it as more of an enhancement, something that will coexist along with what film has
That's
already
what I was
been
going to say. 'Cause
created?
I was going to go back just to the story that you were just telling about that art project. Is the base content he created. I mean, he made the video, he made the film, and then the AI just added to it. I'm not convinced right now that AI could create the base content, that it could create the film. I have no doubt that it can take a picture and add what you've typed in with all that collection of data and enhance it or filter it or, edit it in a way. But I'm not fully convinced that it could create the film that he created originally.
Maybe not a whole movie, but it can at least the photos, because the one guy that won the contest, like he didn't take any photo. That was completely generated by the AI.
But he would have had to have typed in, show me a picture of a mother with her arms on her daughter's shoulders.
You still need,
the AI couldn't
just
create the
it.
emotion in that picture. He had to give it the parameters in which it created.
And
it.
here's the thing.
In a way, he's still creating it.
Yeah.
True, but at what point? At what point then? Okay, even if you have. And this is before it becomes, I guess, a deeper rabbit hole you could go into with AI in terms of it becoming self-aware.
Right.
But once, even if you have that barrier of you have to precipitate the action for it to do something. What happens when it is so sophisticated that you just say, make me a movie? No prompt, nothing, and it creates, in an authentic, real way, any kind of, because that's kind of, yes, you still have sophisticated, like, I'm going to go through this prompt and I'm going to give it like a full paragraph of the description of a full story and say, hey, write a script based on this. And then it's like it does it and you're like blown away by it. And it's like, it is, the technology in there is in and of itself is even cool.
Yeah.
But at what point do you cross the Rubicon, which I feel like we already kind of have to a degree? That it, at least even if you have to just do that one subtle, push of just
you
saying,
tell it what to do, but still,
but you don't, but you don't say any prompt other than just make me a movie.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then out of nowhere, thin air, it just comes up with everything on its own. I mean, at that point, it's like, how sophisticated would it have to be? But also, would it be unintelligible, or would it be something that is so? I mean, an amalgamation of everything that it has.
It's weird. Go ahead.
Go ahead, finish.
I just say, because I'm two-minded of it, because as a consumer, it's like if I read, like, okay, I love reading, I love books, they are tokens, like Lord of the Rings. I read a story that amazing, and I love it. Now, if they gave me a story that amazing, and I read it, and then afterwards it's like, oh, an AI made that, it's like, at that point, it's like I don't mind so much how it was made, but the fact that it was such an amazing and emotionally compelling story. But at the same time, I also have things about that I don't like, because it's what's so amazing about Lord of the Rings isn't just that it's an amazing story, but that a man named J.R.R. Tolkien and his life experiences and his wisdom was what created that story. And yes, to a degree, the AI, because of all the human learning that generated it, you could say, okay, that's an artificial wisdom, but it's just one of those things where it's like something about not having that human connection is just sad to me.
That goes after you all left. We were talking about this AI thing over next door, and it always gets wild after you all leave for some reason. But no, we were sitting there talking about this very thing, and it was brought up, like, where the information that the AI gathers to create anything is information that we've given it. Whether it's information that it's pulling from it's still even if it's off the internet, off billions of database, whatever. We created that information. We put that out there
so far.
So it's still not. Again, if you tell it to give me a picture of a sunset, it's basing that off billions of pictures of sunsets that are on the internet. It's not basing it off a sunset that it's actually seen or can relate to in any way. So I feel like there's still, at this point, and even to the point where if you say make me a movie, I feel like the AI would be making a movie based on parameters that were programmed into it. So just like Elon Musk is talking about,
agreed,
how it's the programmers, if they're biased,
it's going to have the bias,
then the film that it creates is going to be biased. If it's making a film and it wants to make a film that caters towards a certain demographic, then that's the kind of film that it's going to make.
But what happens when it manipulates certain data sets on its own to create? Again, this is kind of going back to the whole self-aware thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When it manipulates or creates data sets that are non-existent based on information it has, but when those new data sets ultimately start to overwrite or take precedent over old data sets that it deems as unnecessary. I mean, almost in the way, kind of like in the movie Her, where she has this interaction with Joaquin Phoenix's character, and only at the end of the movie does she become so sophisticated that he can no longer provide her the pleasure, even though she was only ever intended and created to provide him pleasure. And so now she willingly says, I'm sorry, I got to break your heart. I'm leaving because you don't fulfill me anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of the precipice of like, when is the changing part of AI becoming so well learned that its consciousness, to use a lack of a better word, is beyond what we as humans can comprehend, or even what we've already comprehended. Because the idea of even us knowing that the Earth revolves around the sun is, in essence, part of science that has been, that has constantly been going on since, Isaac Newton discovered gravity. And it's like you're sitting here figuring out these concepts and standing on the shoulders of giants of people that came before you, taking those little pieces of information for granted, but that's your jumping off point. That's where you're going. It doesn't negate everything that came before it.
Yeah.
But again, we aren't able to comprehend in such a fashion where we can manipulate or even process what potential points of data will mean 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years from now. And again, I know that we could get into the philosophical
you're saying
religious
AI
debate.
could negate what came before it.
Right.
All the information that we have.
Based on calculations that it creates in terms of the parameters that, even though we may have set, that ultimately it deems as it multiplies and figures things out in such a rapid pace,
in a sense,
that it eclipses anything that we can comprehend for the next 1,000 years.
Yeah, well, and it's one of those, like,
yikes!
It's a joking meme. The meme you said about what happens if, like, okay, like they asked the Chat GPT, the meme you said about Caitlyn Jenner, and it's like, would it be okay to misgender Caitlyn Jenner if there was like a nuclear apocalypse and it would prevent it? And the Chat GPT was like, no, it's never okay to misgender somebody. Even if like you were going to have a nuclear apocalypse, that could offend the person and give them psychological trauma and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, so within those parameters, because it came to that through the parameters it already has,
right?
Because someone has told the AI this is wrong, it's offensive,
right?
But to the extent that, okay, are we really concerned about offending one person at the extent that person's also going to die in a nuclear apocalypse?
At all costs,
it's like,
do not offend.
It's like it's better to offend somebody than kill them with a nuclear bomb, don't you think? But again, with its parameters, it was thinking at all costs, this is worse than a nuclear apocalypse. That's a problem.
But that's, again, that goes back to who programmed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I think it always comes back to the Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
We're so busy to worry about whether or not we could, then
never stop to think whether or not we should. Yeah.
And it's there it is. But I do. That's the weird thing is, as with anything that's new,
science, man,
and just crazy to think about in terms of pondering what the
Well, let's wind it back just a little bit and talk more about like the film aspect of it.
Sure.
Like, how can AI right now in its infancy, how can that change film?
If it got really sophisticated, I'm even thinking on a level of I think of YouTubers with regard to content delivering, editing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I was thinking editing. I was thinking, how would it be awesome to just throw all your film at it and say, edit this footage into a movie?
That was kind of my point with 26 years. Like, how awesome would it have been if back then you couldn't really have the power to edit the film any more budget than we had, but maybe we could have had a beard that looked better on Nathan.
I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about cutting and pasting the footage.
I mean that too,
what if you had a 2-hour film and you said, here, edit this to 1.5 hours, and it cut the movie down to 1.5 hours and kept the essence of what you were going for? That'd be pretty amazing.
Well, they technically already have. I know, is it Sensei? I can't remember. Adobe has its own AI. I don't know how well adjusted it is. I've never tried to use it. AI is so primitive. I mean, the Chat GPT thing has been the more scary thing recently.
Yeah.
Or the most
You can trip it up.
sophisticated thing. You can.
I've tripped it up.
And it's funny because I think part of tripping it up is realizing.
And I'm stupid. And I tripped it up. Like, I'm not an intelligent person, but I made it
That's
back.
not true.
I made
no,
it backtrack on.
But
some
everybody
things.
can. I mean,
Yeah.
when you realize it's a machine that, again, is taking data points from across the internet, it shows you, yes, how sophisticated it can be. And even Elon brought this up in his interview with Tucker. He said right now the threat with AI is more so the pen is mightier than the sword. It's not necessarily that it has a control over all these different apparatuses or functions and is therefore making choices that we don't have power over it, but it's the point, or it's the part of influence that becomes. It's like you said, if you can come off convincingly as a real person with real sets. I mean, if you just could put in there, hey, I give me the right kind of speech to make it sound like I'm an actual doctor who knows what they're talking about, and you can go into a job interview and impress people to the point of them thinking, wow, this person's got all these credentials that they've, obviously it's faked, or that you sound like, you're legit.
Yeah.
It can really lead to some horrific things when it comes to actual practice.
Well, here's it's funny you mentioned that South Park did an episode on ChatGPT. It was hilarious, where like they were like some of the kids were using it to text their girlfriends.
Yes, I heard about this.
And it's quite hilarious, but it's like how bad, like, because already the technological age has made people kind of terrible at interacting with each other outside of using technology, but how much worse could it be if you were like, well, I don't really want to deal with my girlfriend's problems right now. I'm just going to tell ChatGPT.
Right.
Make a heartfelt message about how sympathetic I feel towards whatever she's dealing with right now. It's like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like you're not actually building a relationship there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. How much of a crutch does it become then
Yeah.
to fix your problems such that you depend on it wholeheartedly like that? And I think it goes going back to the filmmaking and the editing. I think it's like if you're using it because maybe you are a YouTuber and you put out tons of videos per month or per week, and you've just got all this content that you've got to get cut up, and you don't have the money to pay an editor. But you can go from being the one person who does it to now putting it through an AI. And when you tell it you could manipulate it and get it right down to the particular parameters you want, and it starts cutting it exactly the way you want, then you can now manipulate your workflow to almost create the content that will go into the AI generator, cut it and edit it and push it out into a final product that you can post, and it be exactly what you're looking for. And if that frees you up to then work on more creative things that aren't so mundane or so cookie cutter, then hey, I think that's a great use of the resources.
Yeah.
The same as most people would say, if I don't have to pay these, idiots who every once in a while get an order wrong at McDonald's, we're going to pay a robot, or we're going to pay for upkeep on a robot to flip hamburgers and make sandwiches in a timely fashion, and we don't have to worry about them calling in sick. Or
Walmart said they were going to be fully automated by like 2025, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
that's crazy.
and that's the real fear, I think, is how do you adapt as a society to knowing this is coming and is going to be a part of your universe? I mean, you have those, just like I think us growing up with smartphones and the internet in general, you have those who will embrace it and fully take advantage of it, and those who understand the tool that it is as opposed to the complete run on your life it can be.
Yeah.
Going back to the South Park episode, it's like, when you realize the essence of what a real personal relationship is, you're not going to rely on it to that extent, that it tarnishes real human interaction. And the same way as any editor who's worth their weight and worth their salt is not going to sit there and just depend on an AI to edit. They're going to know that if they're really working on something artistic, it's going to take that human touch that creates, I think kind of like the argument with digital versus film, from the Nolan perspective of, you can tell a difference. There is intrinsically something different there. Now, the masses would disagree. And I think over time, you're going to have those purists that are like, I'm not using AI for editing. I'm only going to trust people and human intervention.
Yeah.
But look, humans make mistakes.
They do, yeah.
And if you can get to a point, and it's not like computers don't either, but if they make far, far fewer and it saves you time and money, that's far more important over the long haul than trusting someone that you're paying a crap ton of money to that may not be able to, keep up with the quality that you want.
Say I'm actually part of like a writing group on Facebook. Like we follow movie talk or whatever. I follow like a writing one, and like someone on there was talking about like they are an editor and they have a client who ran like their novel or whatever through like a Chat GPT to edit it. And they didn't want to pay the editor their full price because they already had their work pre-edited by AI. And they're like, well, this already did most of the work for you. Why should I pay you full price? It's like, because I still have to read the entire novel and edit it, whether that's already edited or not. You're paying me to do so. And I'm like, which I would agree with them. It's like, yeah, you have to read the whole novel. And not only that, but now he's saying, AI is not smart enough yet to really get it right. So not only is he editing the author, but now he has to go back and edit whatever the AI has messed with.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what, like with jobs and stuff, and you mentioned McDonald's, it just for some reason popped in my head. I'm like, yeah, you can have a machine flip burgers. You can have a machine put a sandwich and build a sandwich. But what if the mayonnaise is bad? The machine doesn't know that. Only a human eye can look at the mayonnaise and see that it's bad.
Or taste
the machine is the machine is just gonna squirt the mayonnaise on there and move on to the next one. If it's spoiled or whatever, it's like a human touch is still. I feel like that's necessary.
I think it's to a degree. I mean, I think you need like maybe a manager, because obviously if he walks in one morning, he's like, well, the machines aren't working. We got to call a mechanic. We got to call a technician.
Yeah.
But if there's a tray in the back that is an automatic loader for a certain sauce, and it knows to empty it and dump it.
Yeah.
And you can automate it to where it's loading up a new fresh sauce every day or every 3 days.
Of days that like this product can be used for like 3 days. So it's like, okay, we got this product in.
That's a simple barcode. You
but
can have a barcode on it,
but
and
again,
it reads the barcode and it's like, this is old. We need to dump it.
There's always the
and there comes a little cleaning
error.
robot that dumps it.
I mean, there's the possibility of human sabotage too, though. It's like I'm just going back to a sandwich. I'm just thinking of the most mundane, simplest thing. Yeah. But if somebody takes the lettuce and puts it where the cheese goes, the machine doesn't know that that's lettuce. It thinks I'm putting cheese on a burger, and instead it puts lettuce on there.
And I think that's where that's the precipice we're on. That's the breakthrough that AI is for it to look and analyze an actual picture and know what the context of the picture is.
Yeah.
That's the craziness that we're on. It's like now no longer just... Because you're right. I mean, machines are stupid part and parcel. It's like this computer in front of me is literally ones and zeros. It's data in, data out. It's doing arithmetic at a really, really fast pace that looks and appears to be like I'm interacting with it and it's organically reacting to me.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of, technology that we've come to know. But I think even when it comes to what we consider to be a simple process, like you said, flipping a burger, it's not in terms of code. But when you have an AI program that knows coding so well and computers so well that it can write that code exponentially faster than a human can script it, based on what we've already created. I mean, that's what people are using it for now. I mean, truthfully, that's what even I think Apple advertised with their M1 and M2 processors, was that it was exponentially faster for them to compile code because of the machine learning of it scanning through the code and being able to see if there were any errors that popped up. And no doubt people who are writing code are taking advantage of AI when they can just simply say, write me this kind of operation to do this in Swift or in Ruby, Python. And yet it's not going to make people who actually know the language of code better, like almost going back to the writing situation. It's not like AI is so sophisticated that it's not going to get it wrong, especially at this stage in its infancy. But it also, and while it would take a human touch to read through that entire manuscript and say, this is definitely still off. It didn't get this right.
Yeah.
You need that human interaction for that right now. But every single time it messes up and it's corrected, it learns and it continues to get better.
It learns every day how to kill us all.
I mean, it's kind of crazy, but if you put a bunch of Legos down in front of an AI and say, hey, build me a house, it can only build you a house with what Legos you gave it. It's when it starts creating its own Legos that you have the problem.
Yeah.
And that's where I think like what Elon Musk has been talking about in these interviews is like there needs to be safety measures in here. I mean, even his own cars, Brian pointed this out next door, the they're having issues with the self-drive of Teslas because it's programmed to save the driver.
Yeah.
So I mean, he brought up a point that's if you're driving this car and it's there's a wreck in front of you, you can turn right and hit a brick wall and kill the driver, or you can turn left and hit the two people that are on the sidewalk. It's going to turn left and hit the people on the sidewalk because it is programmed to save the driver. It's not going to smash you into a brick wall, killing the person in the car. So
I'm okay with that.
Is it capable? Yeah, if you're the driver, yeah. Is it capable of making that decision? Is AI capable of making a decision like that? Like, should I take my chances and hit the brick wall and spare the two people pushing a stroller? Or is the AI just going to decide to save the driver and the car and turn left and kill this woman pushing her baby?
In that circumstance, let you manipulate and make the choice that you
Right. I guess in the way they are right now, I think that's kind of what would happen. You have to keep your hand on the wheel. You're still alert.
Those are kind of part and parcel of the safety nets he's talking about.
Yeah, that has to be there before we go any further.
There has to be, at this point, and I think even people who are proponents of ChatGPT, and I know we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Would even argue too, to that extent, they would say it's nowhere near sophisticated enough to be on its own. It still needs so much work. But their idea of pushing it forward,
it's moving fast.
It's moving very fast.
That's the problem. And is there time to create the safety nets when you're pushing it this fast?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what worries me.
I think it should worry
worries
all
everybody.
Of us. Yeah. Yep. Well, that was
chaos
bleak.
theory. Jeff Goldblum.
Yep.
I'm telling you, we need to just shut down Skynet right now. Pull the plug.
It's already got our number, man. It's already got our number. We're in the Tesseract. I'm telling you.
The Tesseract.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in tonight for our podcast. Hopefully, that was
that's deep,
a very deep and psychological discussion there. Even philosophical questions too coming up.
Yeah,
very interesting. But as always, like, share, subscribe. I am. All of our social media at the bottom of our page: Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on our YouTube page and even on Rumble. We're on Rumble.
Are we on Rumble finally?
Not live.
Our
shows are going up on Rumble. We'd love the support over there too on all of our channels.
Rumble.
But there's another way you could support us too, and even say hi to us. We're not big celebrities. We'll respond.
That's right.
Give us
we
your
will
opinion.
right back.
We actually
Tell
want
us
to talk
whether
to
you like a movie or not.
That's right.
Give us some ideas. Maybe you get tired of what we talk about all the time, and you're just like, you should talk about this.
Maybe they just want to talk about AI.
Responded to like all 5 emails we've got.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
If you email us, we will respond.
We will put your email into ChatGPT and let it respond to you.
And unless you're from Zimbabwe and you're trying to sell us something,
that's true.
Then we're not going to respond.
We actually have gotten a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did buy something from them.
From Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my 10,000 rupees.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you bought a human being.
They haven't arrived.
Jambo?
But if
I'm waiting on them.
for anybody who's not from Zimbabwe trying to sell us anything, they could message us though through
An old-fashioned
our
way.
old I'll go ahead. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's the raspy is there.
I like
It
the
is.
rasp.
That's
I like
right.
it.
So
I know.
nice. Oh, love it. That's going to do it for this week.
Gargling salt water. It's just so good.
That's what I need.
It's not full Clint Eastwood, but I just a little touch of it, It's not, I can't do Clint Eastwood.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of a good line.
I
I mean, the only thing I think of is
I'm
Derry
lucky
Harry.
punk.
Lucky punk.
Yeah.
Are ya?
I immediately went to
I can't go as gravelly and raspy as Clint
Gran
Eastwood.
Torino. He's like
Gran
Dragon Lady.
Oh.
He just starts throwing out all those racial
Yeah,
slurs.
no, that's the only thing I can think of from that movie. I didn't want to throw out Zipperhead. He's like, Zipperhead.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah,
It's such a good
Clint
movie.
Eastwood.
Gran Torino's great.
That is a good
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, he's
Couldn't
like,
be
I
made
love
today.
it. Gran Torino's so great.
great.
Racism.
Yeah.
Which isn't
Deeper
the point.
than
which,
that.
yes, I would say isn't the point of that movie at all.
No.
Gosh
No.
sakes.
If anything, it's the opposite.
That's
but
right. Alrighty, guys.
Mel Gibson.
We always have to end on racism.
He's coming back too.
That's right.
Apparently, some people aren't happy about it, but I say yes, bring him.
Bring him back. I can't wait.
Lethal Weapon 5.
I was reading.
He's in the Continental.
No, it's not just. Yeah, that was the one.
He's in the Continental.
He's going to be in the Continental spinoff, and apparently there's some people.
It makes me more interested now to watch it.
Well, apparently there's some people, the same people that boycotted Hogwarts Legacy. You see how well that went. They want to boycott. They want to boycott the Continental because Mel Gibson's in it.
But
like,
you know what?
I was like, what is Mel Gibson like? Whatever. Like years ago he offended
the negative
people,
stuff made me want to play it even more.
That's right. Hey, and you know what though? The Bud Light boycott's not working.
Yeah,
in the long run, experts tell us that the Dylan Mulvaney incident, it will actually make them better. It'll make them sell
they
more.
said the
we could
market
trust
shares
the
that dropped. They
experts.
said it's like that's just how stock markets work.
Yeah, the boycott's not working at all.
I'm not. It's
Keep it up.
Donald Trump
Keep it
Jr.
up.
I'm not listening to him either.
Oh, hell no.
I say run Bud Light into the ground.
Matt Walsh said today, and
what
I couldn't
did
agree with him
Donald
more.
Trump Jr. say? I missed that.
He said, "Well, Bud Light's a big donor to the Republican
They are,
Party."
but
and
60-40. But here's the problem, and as Matt Walsh pointed out, and it was great. He said, the very people. He's like, trust me. He's like, these people don't care. He's like, the people they're giving money to on the GOP side are not fighting the culture war.
Yeah.
They're just taking it and lining their own pockets.
Yeah.
They're not trying to fight these battles.
Yeah.
We can win this. We need to hold our line and keep fighting.
Well, I do keep seeing that pop up. How the CEO is an ex intelligence officer, and he's always been very pro-conservative and supported conservative pundits, and I'm like, I don't care.
Well, he should have fired this lady before she ever.
Yeah.
He should have never hired her.
He should have come out and apologized.
Yeah.
He should have apologized.
I don't care
for
about
it.
your horses running in front of Indiana. I don't give a crap.
Yeah. I love
Fire
that.
these people and
I love that.
apologize, and maybe somebody will drink your beer.
That's right.
We never did anyway.
Honestly, it's not. That's
true.
the thing. It's
I-
like Bud Light's terrible.
It's crap
It's
beer.
just like go Yingling. Because,
Yeah, Yingling's a good beer.
Because at least they're family owned and they're like it's still not like the best, but
it's not the best, but I'll drink it
I like
over
it.
Bud Light any day.
No, I mean there are. I like their.
I'll drink it over other. I mean, I like.
I'll drink
Blue Moon.
Dracula blood over Bud Light any
I
day.
prefer mass produce. I prefer Sam Adams, but other than that, I'll drink microbrew too.
Yeah.
But Yingling is a
I
bad.
would say Voodoo Ranger's been doing it for me lately. They've had some nice. They're still owned by a bigger, but they're not.
I think it's InBev.
No, it's not InBev.
It's not.
It's
He
not?
looked.
No.
Okay, all right.
They're not on the list.
Elysian was InBev.
Yeah,
Was the
Elysian.
one.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
And
The
they
Space
only
Dust.
that's the only one they make I like. So I'm like, I can give up Space Dust. That's
All right,
fine.
guys, we got to wrap it
We
up.
gotta go,
It's we're way over on this episode. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Frank Frankfurter.
Frank Frankfurter.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.